for me. And I just do it. I never asked. I just do my job. Why do you do it?
I do it to line up the audio, so I'll just.
Oh, so there you go. But like, what's the name of it?
I don't know what the name of it is.
Maybe it's like to sync it.
It's you know what I'm talking about, right? The action thing.
Oh, that's why they do that.
Yeah. So what I do now is. She didn't even know, right?
Are you recording?
Yeah, we started.
That's hilarious.
So what I do is I use the audio from the mics.
Okay.
But I have my phone and my camera here, obviously,
right.
on us. So what I'll do is I'll do the spike thing.
Okay.
So now that's picking up the spike of the audio and the mic.
Oh.
And then when I edit, I got to send myself the files, these two files.
Right.
And then I get the two files from the mic.
Okay.
And then from there, I line it up using the spike in the audio. And then I'll mute the volume from the cameras. Uh-huh. And then you get the audio from here. So it's like nice and crisp.
Oh, that makes
so that's
sense. I'm in front of the camera, so I don't know. I don't know these things.
So and Impy always shouts to Impy. Impy's in the background. Every time I do it, like we have to take like a 15, 20 second delay because he starts laughing. He's like, yo, it's so funny that you do that every time.
I do it.
There's
a process to this.
So first of all, thank you for coming on the show. Sam Wendorf.
That's me.
Got it.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. You, you know, it's funny. I don't know if if Impy's told you or if I've told you, but you know why I wanted to talk to you?
No.
So there was, I'm into like weird shit and like, I don't know how to, when I tell you the story, you'll understand, but we were going to Dom's wedding.
Right.
And we took the Uber.
Yes.
I was sitting in the front, you and Impy in the background. Behind us, and there were who was it? Two other people. Impy were with us.
Yeah, it was another couple.
There was another couple, right? And we're taking the Uber to go to Dom's wedding, and the conversation of like, oh, what do you do came up, right? Yeah. Like, what do you do for a living? This and that, and you mentioned how you are doing the acting thing. But like you're doing something else in the meantime until the acting like really takes off. Yeah. And then Impy, like, because I started shaking my head like, oh, I was like, girl, you don't even got to explain yourself anymore because I know what you're talking about.
Right.
And then Impy like grabbed my shoulder. And because like, that's how I explain what I'm doing.
Okay. Oh,
I
didn't know that he did that.
Yeah. It was very subtle. It was very like one of those things where at the time I might have not connected the dots or it resonate with me, but then after. So like, what is it that you do?
Oh, we're just asking that question.
Yeah,
now?
like what honestly, I don't know what you do. I know you're like into acting and you're an actress, but like
well, that is what I do. I think that's something that a lot of people don't. It's a weird question, right? Because people will be like, oh, like I've heard that before, like, oh, you're into the acting thing, like that's the kind of thing you like to do, but that's my job. You know, like I think it's hard for people sometimes to understand when they go to like, you know, a normal 9 to 5 or something like that, where like that's just their job. It's not necessarily what they like to do. Whereas like I'm very lucky that what I like to do and what I love to do is my job. It's just basically like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you know, the job isn't necessarily always the job. And let me explain what I mean by that. Like when I book a commercial or when I book like, you know, a TV show or a play, like when I go to rehearsal and we're on stage, like that's the job. That's what people think the job is. But there's so much more that you have to do to even get to that point of actually booking the job. And that's really the job. Like if you talk to any representation, you talk to any casting director, you talk to any actor who's actually doing the thing, not rehearsing, that's not what I wanted to say. If you're talking to any actor who's actually doing the thing, getting yourself ready for the job is the job. Taking classes, you know, meeting casting directors, meeting representation, just like chatting with other actors, reading sides, reading plays, reading books, watching movies, watching TV. Like that's all research. That's all getting you prepared for when you do actually book the job. So that's my job. Like because of COVID, thankfully, I can finally say like I am a full-time actor and that's all that I do. And yeah, I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. And there's a lot to break down there. So how does that feel now to be able to actually say that with not strings attached, but like for me, right? My buddy Mustafa does public speaking, and he works with Dr. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, and he always drops gems when he comes on the show. And there was one thing he said that really resonated with me, probably my favorite thing that he's ever said, and it was how people ask you, what do you do to understand how much respect to give you? So like, if you're like, oh, I'm a teacher, they'll be like, oh, okay. Oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm a lawyer. Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah, sure.
Right.
So it's like, now you can actually say that you're an actress. So it's like, how does that feel?
How does that feel? Well, can I reference him off camera at any point? Okay.
That's my...
Like, he's allowed to... He's here? Okay, cool.
That's my guy right there. Irrational confidence guy. Impy looking up... Nick, what are you looking up? Nick stats? Nah. Mets, Lindor season? Let's go. We got the Mets hat on too.
And I will start and stop, though, for, like, your editing when I mess up. But...
Oh, no. I'm not editing anything.
You're not editing anything?
Nah, so...
Damn. I'm always, like, the director's actor. I'm just like, I know you need a second for me to back up, but no.
No, we're just having a conversation. Just
right, cool.
Pretend that there's no mic or cameras being recorded. Yeah.
All right. So
how does it feel to now actually be able to say that and that really be your thing?
Well, I mean, that's a weird question for me, because on one end, it feels amazing to be able to say, like, before COVID, I was working in a restaurant, and that was the thing that was paying most of the bills. Well, thankfully, I mean, I was booking work here and there, and that would bring an income, but it wasn't enough to, like, pay rent and bills and groceries all the time. I was also dying to get out of there, because I've been working since I was like 15 on and off in the hospitality industry. And I was just, I had like the best survival job you could have. I worked at a really great restaurant, and it was super easy, but I just knew like my energy wasn't there anymore. And that's not good for me. That's not good for the customer. So I was ready to go. So when COVID happened, it took me a while to realize, but it was actually the best thing that could have happened, because it gave me time to just be a full-time actor and artist. But, at the same time, I feel like I could have claimed that before COVID. Like, that's an internal thing. And I didn't have to there was something inside of me that felt like I had to tell people, oh yeah, I'm an actor. Oh, but I'm also a server. Like, that's my survival thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like a shame in there as well. And like, that's not necessary. I didn't have to do that, like being an actor means, for me, I don't need anyone else's permission or approval to say that I'm an actor, whether or not I actually have like a booked role right now. This is what I am, and this is what I do. It doesn't matter what you think about it. So, and the only reason I referenced Impy was because it's so weird calling him that. I call him Anthony. I'm like, who is Impy?
Yeah, there was one time he introduced himself as Anthony, and I had to do like a double take.
When was that?
It's weird, right? Because my group of friends, like, we have Davino. His name is Anthony. No one that I know calls him Anthony. They call him Davino.
Right.
His lady calls him Anthony. You call him Anthony. So like, it's always been Impy. You know what I mean? So it's just a weird dynamic.
No,
there.
I feel it, and especially like during COVID, it's like, we don't see as many people these days. So like, every once in a while when we do see someone and they're like, hey, Impy, like, it makes me, I do a double take. I'm like, who? But now I know who they're talking about. No, I remember this one time, like over the summer, we had gone upstate to his family's lake house.
Oh, I know all about it. I haven't caught an invite for like 6 years now. It's crazy.
I mean, that was my first time, so
like,
don't blame
he's
me.
like a kid. He's like the leading candidate to be the best man at my wedding when I find a +1, and it's like, I can't even catch an invite. It's crazy.
I'm gonna extend an invite, but it's an unofficial invite because it's not my house. But I will pull for you.
There you go, campaign for me.
No, it's amazing. But on the way back, his friend's mom was like, somehow we ended up in the city, and we needed to get a ride back to Astoria, or was it like, no, we got it like. His friend had like this weird like rental that we had to drop off in Jersey and then get picked up by his mom in Jersey to come back to the Upper East Side. And then we took an Uber to Astoria. Anyway, the mom was asking us like, oh, what do you guys do? And I didn't answer right away. And Anthony, said, oh, she works at a restaurant. She used to work at the Polo Bar. And I just remember in that moment feeling like, oh, like I hadn't been working there in months. And I didn't feel like I still like belong, like that wasn't like what should have been the describing factor or I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it just didn't resonate well with me. And I remember afterwards telling him, like, maybe we should like not say that to people anymore when they ask what I do, because I don't do that. I don't want to do that. And I'm an actor. That's what I do. So when people ask, let's just go with that. So that was my story.
No, that's great, because I feel as if, so I have a coffee truck in the city. Been working there with my pops for a couple of years now. Now I've been working on my own because, the city's pretty empty. There's no one in the offices. Right. So a lot of my customers are all 9-to-5ers, right? And there's just no one around. Like, all the buildings are empty.
Right.
So I call that the dream supply, because that allows me the ability to do all the stuff that I'm doing after, like all of this, right? Like, I'm lucky enough now where I'm making some money off the show, whether it's sponsors or the network that I'm with and some of the Patreon members too. And it's funny, you mentioned how like COVID was like, you looked at COVID as like a positive, which I love, because a lot of people right away, it's always a negative. Right?
Well, right away it was negative. Like, I was super depressed the first couple months. It took me time to realize like, oh my God, this is a great gift that I've been given, but not immediately. That's for sure.
Time is the biggest luxury. And that's something that I noticed with COVID. So it was always a goal of mine to get a space like this, right? Like now I'm in a 2-bedroom where the one room is what we're sitting in now, and it's like an actual studio, I don't want to nothing ever gets moved. Like everything always stays like this. I just turn on the lights like you saw me do.
Right.
And I'll just change the batteries when I need to. But that's about it. Yeah. So I have this space now to get creative and whatnot. And it's cool because I didn't want to have that burden of constantly putting up the backdrop over here and having to make sure. Now it's like consistent. And I've seen that the show now, public perception, it's taken more serious.
Right.
Downloads are improving every month since then. It's easier to get guests to come on. Also because I lived in Long Island. So to get the commute to come all the way out there, it was like a hassle. I would have to pick up Impy, drive him there.
No, it's time consuming.
And then, and even Alan, when we were doing the show, he's like, man, for me to get to your crib at 7:30, I got to leave at like 6 to avoid the traffic. And then by the time I get home, he's like, yo, it's taking a toll on me. And I was like, bro, I feel you. I used to have to do that drive three times a week. We used to record D-Generation Bets together, the sports betting. Yeah. And on that same day, I would record a wrestling podcast just so that I didn't have to do more commutes. And then we would record VM on Mondays and Thursdays.
I'm already exhausted listening to you.
I was waking up at 2:45 in the morning to go to work in the city. And all those days that I'm mentioning, Sam, I'm fucking not sleeping in the afternoon. Yeah. So I'm going like from Glen Cove to the city, back to Glen Cove, chilling, working out. From there, coming back into Astoria, recording, then going back to Glen Cove. I sleep one day a week with no alarm clock, and it's Friday into Saturday.
Damn.
I turn off my phone.
Right.
Legit. When I go to bed, I wake up whatever time I wake up, decide to wake up, unless I have something to do on Saturday. Yeah. Because then on Sunday, if I try to do that Saturday night and I wake up at like 1:30 on Sunday, I can't go to bed at night.
Right.
Because I wake up so early. So when COVID happened, I wouldn't say I got depressed, but I started getting just annoyed with doing everything in one place. I was working out. I was sleeping. I was living there. I might have said working out, but I was like recording there too. And it's like, yo, I've been there for so long. Like there's no escape.
Right.
Right. So I think with COVID, it sort of eliminated that like ability to be social and go out.
Yeah. And just also like, your body, it's like there's like this jolt reaction because Anthony knows, like, I didn't even have a day off. Like, even on my supposed days off, I had to go into the city. I had auditions. I had, like, all of these things that I had to do. I had to, like, record self-taped auditions at home. And, like, I have to do the setup. Like, I don't have, like, the space that's my own yet. But, every day was something. And then if it wasn't, I'd work on, like, Friday night. And I would get out of work at, like, 11. And then I would take the train back to Astoria. I'd go to his place. We'd sleep. We'd get up early to have breakfast together or brunch. And then I'd go back to work. And that was just like, and then I was in school. And then I'm like, there's just all these things. And like, when you're in it, you're always like, damn, this is so much. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm running all over the place. And then COVID hits and all of a sudden you're like forced to sit still, and you're just like, what is this feeling? Like, I don't know how to sit still. Like, I don't know how to just sit around and do nothing. And I think it was like a huge lesson for me in that rest is also super important. Like, you need rest. If you're going to do anything, and you want to be good at it, you have to give yourself these pockets of rest. Even if it's just like, you know, an hour in the morning where that's like, it's just you and a cup of coffee and like some quiet time, maybe like some like bullshit show to like turn your brain off, or like I meditate, you know, all of that is important, because if you're just like constantly on the go, your body gives out, you know, and it's not sustainable is what I'm trying to say.
It's not. As someone I was super prideful of, I sleep 4 hours a day.
Oh, that team no sleep is so
it is, man. Look,
so yeah.
I'll 1,000% honest with you.
Yeah.
My main goal with all of this is I don't want to flip eggs anymore.
Of course.
Like, I don't want to have to wake up at 3 a.m.
Right.
My alarm clock is 3 a.m., 3 p.m. So when I get home from work, if I get home at like 11:30 and I can sleep right away, then I'll get that 3 hours. But then there'll be some times where like I'll fall asleep at like 2:15, but I have to wake up at 3 because I got so much shit I got to do.
Yeah.
So it's weird, right? Like with COVID, it's been such a world altering thing that happened, right? And I think people like you, people like me with like in the creative space, I think this is where if you didn't double down, I think you made a mistake.
During COVID, you mean?
Yeah, like if you were creating, how do you feel about that? Because I see some hesitation and.
You know, I think that's really hard to say, because I'm also like, you know, there was definitely a point in my life when I was like, I don't need sleep. And like, I really didn't. Like, and that was just me like being younger and just like my physical self. Like, I didn't need as much sleep. But, you know, I'm the type of person where I do need sleep. If I'm going to function well and at a high level, I do need a certain amount of sleep. And that's super important. But aside from that, in terms of, I really am not a fan of the shaming that's going on right now during COVID. Like, you know, you go on Instagram and you see all these memes that say, what you just said, like if you didn't, you know, pull it together, if you didn't find your hustle, if you didn't find your thing during COVID, you know, you made a mistake or you fucked up or you don't have it in you, because this is a really scary time for people, you know, like I said, like I was super like depressed and down in the beginning of COVID because I was literally scared to leave my apartment. You know, I live over near 30th Avenue, and you have all of the supermarkets over there, and a lot of people not wearing masks, and a lot of people on the corner. And, you know, then you're watching the news and they're telling you that they don't know how you're going to get COVID. I was scared to leave my home. And that's not a level of fear that a lot of people, including myself, are used to experiencing regularly. So I just think we need to be kinder and gentler. I think we need to be kinder and gentler and more understanding of people who are struggling during this time, because we're living in unprecedented times. Like, this isn't normal. And I just don't think we should be shaming anybody, because you don't know what anyone else is going through, what they're experiencing. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, it's weird because I've seen the impact happen close to my family. Like, my business is about 70% down from what it used to be.
Right.
And I also, you know, I've been pulled in so many different directions the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I finally got a food truck. I still haven't been able to use it.
Really?
It's still in Jersey. It hasn't left the lot because the moment it leaves the lot, the financing comes into play, and like business is just not good right now.
Right.
So the money that I was making, me personally, like what my pops would pay me and the money that would be left over for me, I'm still making that. But it's not good for like my family. So my dad hasn't been in the city for like 3 months because he's 54. He's kind of out of shape. And I'm like, yo, you don't need to be coming. I don't want you to come into the city and then you see this thing that you've been building for 27 years be in shambles. Right. So I'm like, yo.
And also risking his own health and safety.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me personally, I wasn't worried about myself catching COVID. But obviously I didn't want to be the one to be like, oh, damn, I got COVID and then I gave it to like my pops or my grandma or some shit like
Right.
that. That would be more devastating to me because, like, yo, I work out every day. I do eat my vitamins. I eat well. You know, I run every day, and so like I'm fit. You know, so I wasn't worried about that. But again, like what you said about being nicer and being more gentle to people and just like kind, really. You
Yeah.
know, it goes a long way. But I want to go back to like COVID and acting in
Okay.
particular.